Well, good morning. This is Laura DesJardins, and I am the director of Southern California Astrological Network and the former director of the Michigan Astrological Association. And what I'm getting ready to show you is how a chart looks if you're using a 90-degree dial and how to technically use it. So here's the birth chart. I'm going to use mine because I know exactly when everything happened. So here's the birth chart. This is the solar arc directions, which I consider the most important of all. And then after that, the secondary progressions. And the one thing you really watch with secondary progressions is the secondary progressed moon. That's extremely important. So then from there, these are the transits where everything is in the sky at this moment. And you can see the moon is in the sign of Libra at 25 degrees Libra. We know it's right on the cusp of the 5th house. That means the next focus will go into children, creations, where you shine in the public eye, etc. All right, there's a lot of meanings that go with that 5th house. But I've talked about some of the highlights, investments, that kind of thing. But we want to switch this over because the main reason I'm doing this is so somebody can actually see how to use the WinStar program. And the reason I like this is this Aries point is very important. It's giving you the point in the chart where you're able to get that. Did you try again? I keep this is Alexa and she keeps interrupting. I need to shut her off, I guess. Anyway, so here the Aries point between this position and 30 degrees is where all the cardinal planets go. So you're putting in all your cardinal positions that were in the birth chart within that 30-degree section. So this is saying the node is about 2.5 degrees approximately. Juno, which is an asteroid which deals with relationships, is about 5.5 degrees. Neptune is at 7.25 degrees. The ascendant is 12.25. Chiron is at 13, close to 13.5. Jupiter and Venus are both at 14 degrees of cardinal. Saturn and the cardinal are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn are all the cardinal positions. So you know you're putting them in here. Saturn is cardinal, and so is Mars cardinal. So you put them in there, and this actually is where they are if we did a 360-degree chart that shows you where they fall on that. So that's even fascinating because in the sign of Cancer, these two, they show you in here where they were when you were born, what sign they were in, like Sun is in Scorpio, Mercury is in Scorpio. Anyway, the next 30 degrees is between 30 and 60, and those are the fixed positions. So you look to see where your fixed positions are. Now, fixed is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So I have the sun in Scorpio, so it falls at 7 degrees fixed. This is 0, 5 degrees fixed, 6 degrees fixed, 7 degrees and a quarter fixed. Pluto is at 11 and 3/4. So 5 degrees fixed, 10 degrees fixed, 11 degrees and 3/4 is where Pluto lands. Then the planet Mercury, and here you can see it's at around 24 and so many minutes, close to 24.5 degrees fixed. Then you have no more planets there. I'm only working right now with the normal planets I haven't added in, Uranian, any of that. And I do have the ascendant and the midheaven involved in this. You need those always as part of this. So then the mutable positions are from 60 all the way up to 90. 0 is also 90 because this is considered a 90-degree dial. Up here it says 90-degree dial. So the first thing you're looking at is a 5, 10, and my moon is almost 14. So it sits at 13 something, almost 14. So that's the moon in Virgo, mutable. Then Uranus, and the mutable are Gemini and Virgo and Sagittarius, Pisces, all mutable. Okay, so here you can see Uranus is at 16, almost at 17 degrees of Gemini. And then the midheaven is at 20 degrees Pisces. So now we know all of the positions and how they land in the chart, and we can see where they were in the birth chart. And I think if I highlight them, it gives you the exact minutes and seconds on each one. So that's another attribute of this program. And I love this program. And you can see the Pluto's 11 Leo, 46 minutes, 5 seconds. So it's doing it to the 10th of a second also. All the programs which are for masters have this. So people who are doing this kind of a program, they need this for timing. All right, next, I thought I would show you some things that really help to be able to see something in a chart. My closest sibling was born 2 years after me. And so there is this node being touched off. And the node and the planet Mercury to Neptune. Do you see it? So Mercury rules siblings, and Neptune is saying a sibling's being born when the Aries point is on the node. Now, that could be addiction issues. There can be a lot of things that go with the Mercury Neptune, that sibling could have addiction issues, and most of my siblings did. I came from a large family, and the family, you know, is symbolic of the moon. Well, this moon, the degree of it, and we have to take this off so you see the actual degree of the moon. Take it back where there's no pointer on, but the moon is at almost 14. I have 14 siblings. So I thought that was, there's 14 of us total in the family, the moon. And I have a moon at midpoint, so some planets here. So let me show you the midpoints now, how you get those. You go up to extra and you go to the, wait a minute, I have to switch this over to the data. And then in data, you're going to go down until you see midpoint trees. And you want midpoints 90 trees, but you want it to actually say trees. So right there it is. So if you look at my moon here, which remember was at 14 degrees, almost 14, it's at midpoint to Jupiter, Pluto, which would mean a very large, potent or established family. So you're going to hear her go off every so often. I'm going to have to move her.
Is there something else I can help with?
No. So here the moon is sitting at midpoint to Jupiter, Pluto. Great position because it brings abundance through the family. But in this case, it actually shows how many there would be in the family, which I thought was fascinating. Again, a very interesting thing. So you look at the midpoints of each one of these planets, and then it becomes kind of fascinating. Now, the midpoint for astrology, Uranus being the ruler of astrology, we would be really looking at that. So Uranus is at a midpoint here to the midheaven and the moon being in Virgo, the midheaven in Pisces, and Uranus is the only planet in the 12th house. So it really touches off that need to bring in medical, moon in Virgo, and intuition. So you can kind of read into what each one of these means. And I've been very successful with astrology. That's Jupiter sitting at the exact midpoint of Sun midheaven. Now they're giving you the degree of orb. These degrees are preset, and I put them in at 1.5 degrees. That's what Eberton gave, one direction or the other from the planetary position, 1.5 degrees to fit in to the midpoint. So let's take a look at that midpoint in a moment, but that really means that I've been blessed with a lot of publicity or positive things with the knowledge that I've brought in about astrology in this case. All right, or just anything that I decide to do. It doesn't have to just be astrology. It's also real estate in my case. So each one of these has a midpoint. And so also with astrology, you're going to look to see, are there any other midpoints that involve Uranus? And here's one. Venus is sitting at the midpoint of Uranus and Pluto within just under 30 minutes. So that means that was active shortly after birth. All right, then for something to be active, you need it to be at a point where it's giving you the one of the 3 points have been touched off by one of these 3 bisolar arcs. So it could be Uranus hitting Venus, it could be Pluto hitting Uranus. Either way, it then activates this midpoint right here, which is pretty phenomenal when you really get how this is working. Now, the other thing is this node here represents our soul group. And I have a Mercury Pluto there. And I would tell you each time this is touched off, there could have been a sibling born or dying. At this point, there's only 5 of us left out of the 14. So I have a large ability to research the family story based on this. All right, then after you look at these midpoints and you interpret them, my book is called Midpoint Keys, and it's on Amazon, and it gives you the interpretation of each one of these. But each one of these, you could write at least a page of information, if not more. So you can fill in the blanks, add more to that. All right, now we're going to take it back to the extended, and we're taking it back into the birth chart. And so let's take a look at one of these midpoints. The one involving Uranus was the key here. So we're going to move. Right now, I've got it set for Sun, Venus. I was looking at relationship stuff, but this is the birth chart. When these two line up, you know it's a birth chart. So Uranus sits at the midpoint of the moon and the midheaven, which means that medical astrology would be something that I really do focus on. And then I want to show you that this other midpoint is very close. Mercury hits Neptune. That's a lot of the intuition comes with this planet, Uranus in my case. We all have it, it's just whether it's active. And then writing would be a function of Mercury to Uranus. So it's saying all these things that involve Uranus would highlight my career direction. All right, now I got to thinking, I know exactly when my parents died. And for a parent's death, normally you never want to look at that until it's in the past. Then you can look at it as a research thing. I would never look for death ahead of time. It's more important to look at it in retrospect and use it as a tool for learning. So if it were the death of a mother, this is the second thing that I want to show you how to do. Actually, I want to show you first how to activate a planet. So if Moon, Uranus, and the midheaven are active in a chart, you want to see if there's any of these planets that have moved into position. Now, I was in 1972 was when I studied astrology. And so let's move this to 1972. Up here is where you know how old you were when you were getting started. And it was almost 1973. So let's take a look at it and let's take it to that point of the Aries point. And the Aries point tells you how old you are. And I was 27. And right after that, this moon was activated. And there were a lot of things going on here where this planet Mercury or Uranus was being hit off by the moon. Remember, I explained that Moon and Uranus all came together to the midpoint was Moon. Uranus sat at the midpoint of the planet Moon and the midheaven. So I was ready to start studying, which I was doing at that time. So by the time I was 27, I had the other key is Jupiter Uranus, which is almost always studying astrology or something technical. It's a beautiful aspect to have. So there you go. The timing was right, and it tells you exactly when I was doing it. Then, and this 77 no longer works. You have to take it off of there to see the exact year. So by the beginning of 73, I started studying in the fall of 72, almost 73, 1973. And then there you go. That was the aspect. It's a wonderful aspect to have for studying. Also, I had a grandparent that passed over here. That's a Jupiter-Pluto aspect. Again, all of this is in the book. So we know how this is all working. And you can kind of see what the signature is for each one of these. Now, I want to show the passing of a parent. So you can really take it back to 00. And then on the control button and the left-hand key, you're going to take the red moon and the red Pluto, because we're moving those. So we want to have the red ones because we're getting ready to move them. So my mother passed, or we should use my father first so I can show that one. That's Saturn, Pluto. So Saturn's the father and Pluto is the passing of. So let's take a look. He died just before I turned 47. And so I know it was 1992. And let's take a look here. I have to take off the pointer for that to work. Always remember if you're trying to find it. So here's 92, and it was September of 92. So you can move it back just slightly around the 17th. So what we're looking for is to put the Pluto and Saturn midpoint and hit it to the midheaven. Why? Because the midheaven is your parent. Because it's also the nadir. It's both on a dial. It's showing up as both. So let's see if Saturn and Pluto hit that midheaven. And the Saturn-Pluto is exactly on the midheaven. That's why I'm showing you this tool. I thought, oh my God, this is so powerful, because the way you would read this is not only potential passing, it's always potential. It's never absolute. And it also means that there is a, in career, there's a ending of one phase of the career and the beginning of the next phase of the career. So this is a very powerful aspect to have. All right, now let's switch it. And again, the same things apply to the mother. And let's add in the moon. And the red moon is what we're going to get the midpoint on. And let's take that red moon over here. And then take it first to the birth. So you see what the birth signature was for the midpoint of the moon and Pluto. Hits the ascendant and the midheaven. That means that definitely when she passes, it should be hitting this midheaven and or the ascendant. So now let's move this to the age of 67 and quarter, because she was passed in March. I was going to say born, but she's born to her new resurrection, new path. All right, so let's take a look at it now. There you go. Moon Pluto hits that midheaven exactly, hits the ascendant, and the midheaven hits here. So we know this is the time it would have been exact. And it was March 8th of 2013 when she passed. So let's take this off here. So take the pointer off and look and see exactly when that was. There you go. It's right there at that point, close enough to what we're looking for. It's hard to get this exact, but you can see Moon Pluto exactly to the midheaven. That also tells you that your time is correct. You can use this tool for anything that you're looking for. Just remember to also use the midpoints, but the direct is the other thing, like Sun, Jupiter is a great financial aspect when it's with Venus. And there's so many other things that can go with that are really nice to have. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact me, 714-612-7335. If there's enough people, I'll start a class on this so you can actually use it. Thank you for your attendance today. And I thank the Cochrans for adding me in. No, hopefully, you know who isn't going to say anything over here again. All right. Thank you. Bye.